If you're a young adult and you want to start investing in real estate, you're going to want to watch this video. We're here with Antonio, and he's going to tell you about who he is and what he does.
What's up, everyone? Thanks for having me. I talk about real estate investing for beginners, and if you're confused and you don't know where to start, I'm the right guy for you.
So why do you think it's so hard for young adults to get started with investing in real estate?
Well, there's a few things. First is a lot of young adults they don't have a role model in their life that's their age that is buying a house, right? A lot of millennials can't even afford a house. So Gen Z definitely can't afford a house if millennials can't. So if you don't have anyone around you that you're surrounding yourself with, it seems out of reach. A lot of them live in really expensive cities. Like when I started, I was living in New York, super expensive. You can't buy anything there. So if you're someone that's young and you see a property, you look at properties nearby you that they're all $1 million, you have to just write that dream off as something you'll never have or something that will happen 20, 30 years from now.
Yeah.
And that's sad. So 'cause you don't have anyone to look up to.
Right.
And so location and price and I would say unrelatability because no one their age is doing it.
So now, if somebody isn't ready to start buying or start investing in real estate right now, what is something that they can do to get prepared?
Yeah, so in order to buy a property, you need a loan, right? Most people need a loan. I started with loans. I don't have a lot of money. Yeah, you can, but good luck.
Good luck.
So a huge thing you're going to need for that is credit, right?
Yeah.
So open up a credit card and start making payments. Make sure you're getting everything on time. Get a job. Learn what it's like to work for your money. And while you're doing that, put some to the side and learn what it's like to save. Because one of the big things I say is if you're trying to invest if you're trying to make passive income without looking at your own personal budget and you haven't figured out how to be cash flow positive yourself, then how are you supposed to figure out how an investment works?
Yeah.
You have to make yourself cash flow positive first before you try to make an investment.
Absolutely.
So working on credit, getting a job, and starting to save are three things you can start doing because you're going to need job history and some money to invest as well.
Okay, I think you had said something about something that you have that helps people get started with that process to get ready to invest in some real estate. Is that a thing that you had?
Yeah. I have a personalized investment plan that I build for people that basically you fill out a questionnaire and I go in and I design, okay, based on what you want, what your goals are, I'll pick a strategy. I'll help pick a location for you based on data points. I really stress on using data to pick a location because I don't invest where I live, so how are you supposed to know what the right place is?
Yeah.
And then finding real estate agents and lenders in those areas that are investor friendly. They understand what you're trying to do, I think is really important as well. So I give that to someone who is looking for that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if somebody's not ready to get started right now, is that something you'd recommend for them to do in order to start planning for investing in real estate eventually, or?
The plan you're saying specifically?
Yeah.
Well, I would
that help them with?
Yeah,
planning?
I would argue that before you do that, you should be spending time reading books, understanding real estate, and understanding the principles behind it if that's what you want to do. The plan is more for when you're ready to take that step, you have the savings, and you want someone who's experienced to look over it for you. If you're not ready for that at all, totally cool. Pay attention to the free content out there on YouTube, whatever, read books, go to meetups. It's a great way to meet other people. You're doing those things. You're going to pick up a lot of the things that you need to get started. And you can try to do it on your own. Totally cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I had to do. So
you got started with like different meetups and reading books. How did you start to find that circle to align yourself with that were like-minded individuals?
I'm not going to lie, it's hard in the beginning because no one believes in you or your dream, right?
Yeah.
And what's the advantage for someone who has 100 properties to listen to you? I was actually at one meetup in New York City. This is before I started, and I'd wanted to start for a while. And I went to go. This guy was like weird. He was standing in the corner the entire time. I was like, all right, this guy's someone important. So I ended up going to talk to him, and he was like, I'm a real estate developer. I was like, oh, cool. And I asked him, I said, would you mind if I sent you one email once a month to ask you a question? And he told me no. And
No, he wouldn't mind, or no, I don't want you to?
He said, no, I'm not going to respond to your email. I'm not going to give you my email. And he said, how are you going to expect me to give my time to you when you're not willing to offer anything to me? And that was my sign that I needed to increase my value in the world by doing something like that, by being an investor. So it's hard when you're like that. So you got to align yourself with other people who are at these types of events who might not be, 5-10 years ahead of you, maybe 1 year ahead, or maybe they're at the same stage as you. And it's really important to have those people, because if you pay attention to all the other people your age, they're not doing anything like it. So if you have friends that are reading self-improvement books or learning about investing or going to these types of events or trying to start a side business, those are the people you want to align yourself with, even if they're not in real estate, because the mindset is really what you need at that point.
Right. So if you just graduated from high school, right? Go back however many years that was. What's one piece of advice that you would give yourself, to your old past self?
I'd say trust myself more. When I was younger, I did not believe in myself as much. And had I believed in myself more, I probably would have bought a property 4 or 5 years before then, collected on a lot more appreciation, passive income, and who knows where I would have been now. But because I was young and I didn't see anyone else doing it, and I didn't have that example of, a friend who was doing it, I was scared, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
I was second guessing everything I was doing. But I was paying attention to all these bigger people who were doing it. And so you might not have people in your life that are doing the thing you want, but if you really know deep down inside that that's the thing you should be doing, you got to trust yourself at that point.
Yeah.
And I think as a young person, it's hard to believe in yourself like that.
So what was like your launching point where you put your foot down and were like, that's it, I'm doing this. I'm investing in myself and my future, and I'm going to make that life that I want happen.
So I was
what was the catapult?
Yeah, I was 26, living in New York City. And at this point, I had read almost every single real estate investing book in the world. I'm a software engineer, so I'm really analytical and numbers based in my head. And real estate seemed like it wasn't like that. After I went to that meetup, it just so happened like a week later, my landlord in New York City raised my rent 15%. And I'm surprised I reacted this way, but I was completely frustrated because I have a good salary, I pay my rent on time, I don't complain about anything, I don't have parties, I don't do anything crazy. There should be no reason that my rent's getting raised 15%. And I had a click in my head at that point. It was like, all right, I have to figure it out because I got to be the owner and I can't be the renter anymore. And so that day I pulled out all the books out of my closet and I broke them down like I was a mad scientist. I was like, I got to figure out, because I was scared, right? So I needed a step-by-step process that made me feel confident.
Yeah.
And so what I came up with was, first, you got to come up with your goals, right? What are you trying to do? Right? For me, it was build passive income, retire my dad, retire my mom, then myself. So in order to do that, okay, what strategy aligns with those goals? There's a few investing strategies. You got fix and flip and buy and hold. Those are the two main ones. Buy and hold is what I had to choose because that's the only one to make passive income. Then it was, okay, what location can I actually buy properties in that are buy and hold? And so I'm a big fan of using data behind that. So I look at things like rent prices, home prices, population growth. Are people moving there? Does the area have jobs? Is it landlord friendly, right? We were talking about this yesterday.
Yeah.
So using all those data points and looking at a bunch of cities around the U.S., and I don't want to get too in detail about it, but it's a very number-driven process, and looking at all the numbers and saying, okay, based on the numbers, I'm going to pick Akron, Ohio, right? Just an example. Once you have a city, you got to get pre-approved for a mortgage, because that's how you're going to buy the house.
Yep.
And then you're going to go look at houses. And every house you see, you're going to run the numbers. You're going to see how much the rent is. You're going to calculate all the expenses. And if the house is making you about $150 per month after you save about 20% of the rent, in my head, for a beginner, that's a great start.
Yeah.
Yeah, and about 8% ROI is what I would look for, return on investment.
Okay.
Yeah. And then it's just a matter of repeating the last step until you find a house that works. It might take 100. It took me 200 for my first one, but just the process over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think it's easier to buy a house for yourself and qualify for that, or is it easier to buy a rental property and use that rental income to qualify for buying a unit?
Some lenders won't let you use the rental income. Depends on where they're at, but it depends. You could also house hack and buy a house, and sometimes they'll allow you to use. So house hacking is when you buy a house and you live in it, and maybe you rent out the other bedrooms or you rent out the other units. Like if you bought a duplex, you rent out one apartment, you live in the other one. And if you do that, sometimes the lender will allow you to take 75% of the rental income you'll get from that unit to cover your rent. So that's a mix between the two, right? Living in and getting a rental at the same time, and that'll help you qualify.
Yeah.
So I think the rental income will help you qualify if they allow it. If they don't allow it, there's a lot of loans that are easier to qualify for if you live in the house. So it's kind of a balance. It's like the investor loans have higher standards, but the rental income might help. But the live-in loans have lower standards, but you can't use the rental income sometimes. So it kind of depends. If DTI is your problem, debt to income, then yeah, that would solve your problem. But if your problem is credit, it might be living in the house. So it really depends on what your problem is when it comes to qualifying.
So for anybody who wants to know more about investing in real estate and getting started, how can they find you?
Yeah, I'm on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube. Investarters is my name. I'm sure it'll be somewhere. And I have a book on Amazon. And yeah, I make videos, try to help everyone all the time. So you have any questions, I'm open to answering anything.
Awesome. Well, we met you yesterday, and it was great. You know, sorry again about that first initial part of it, man. But we're really glad that we got to meet you. We look forward to working with you here in the future and hopefully seeing you at future events. If you guys like this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you guys have any questions for Antonio, drop them in the comments, and we'll get back to you guys.